Ever run into someone and realize like, wow, I am just one or two people away from knowing like a huge celebrity?
Oh, yeah.
Or like ended up at a dinner party and there's somebody there who you realize went to the same like tiny little summer camp that you did as a kid.
Right.
It's a small world feeling, right?
Right. It really is.
Well, today we're going to do a deep dive on a concept that explores those mind-blowing connections. 6 degrees of separation.
Yeah. 6 degrees of separation. That's the idea that everybody on the planet, you, me, everybody,
Right.
is connected to everybody else by a chain of no more than 6 acquaintances.
Okay, so 6 people. That just seems impossible. I mean, you think about how many billions of people there are on Earth. Like, how could that even be possible?
I know it really is a mind-boggling idea,
Yeah.
but that's exactly what makes it so fascinating to think about.
Yeah, for sure.
I mean, how is it that we're all linked so closely?
So where did this idea even come from? Like, who first thought of this?
Well, it's an idea that's been around for a while, but it really kind of came into the mainstream in the 1960s with a guy named Stanley Milgram. He was a social psychologist.
Milgram. Wait a minute, is that the guy with, like, the obedience experiment
Yeah.
where they, like, shocked people?
That's the one.
What does that have to do with connection?
Different study, but the same fascinating brain, you know?
Oh, okay.
Milgram really wanted to understand the strength of social connections. And so in one experiment, he gave people in Nebraska letters addressed to a stockbroker who was in Boston.
Okay.
But here was the catch. They could only send the letter to someone they knew personally.
Oh, okay, so like someone who they thought might be a little bit closer to the target.
Exactly. They were basically trying to create these chains of personal connections to see if they could actually reach this stockbroker in Boston.
So it was like a human chain letter kind of thing?
Basically, yeah.
Yeah. And did it work?
It did. On average, it only took 5 or 6 steps for these letters to reach the stockbroker in Boston. Yeah. And that's actually where we get this whole idea of 6 degrees of separation from.
So Milgram proved it, but that was like a small scale. What about today? Like, what about billions of people? Social media connecting us in ways that, nobody could have imagined back then.
Yeah, that's where things get even more interesting. Modern studies are actually using social media data to look at this, and they're finding even shorter paths between people.
Really?
Yeah, sometimes it's just 3 or 4 degrees of separation.
Oh, wow.
And that's because you think about all the people you're connected to online,
Yeah.
and then all the people that they're connected to.
Right.
It's almost like the internet is making the world smaller.
So it's shrinking the world even further.
Exactly.
Okay, that's mind-boggling, but does it really change anything? Like, if we're all connected, does it affect how we see ourselves or how we treat others?
Well, those are the big questions, aren't they? But some researchers think that recognizing our interconnectedness can actually change our behavior. Like it can foster empathy and a sense of responsibility.
That actually makes sense.
Yeah.
Like, if we see ourselves as part of like a global community instead of just our own little bubble,
Right.
then maybe we're more likely to care about what happens to people even if we don't even know them.
Exactly, yeah.
But isn't it kind of overwhelming too? Like, am I responsible for everybody now? I mean, where do you even begin with that? Where do you draw the line?
I think you hit on something really important there. It's not about feeling overwhelmed, like feeling burdened by the whole weight of the world. It's more about recognizing that potential, right? The potential of all of these connections we have.
Right.
And maybe it's not about like some grand gesture, but more like small acts of kindness, understanding and realizing that even these tiny little interactions we have every day can have an impact.
So like a ripple effect.
Exactly, a ripple effect.
So if we're all connected, even indirectly, it's almost like we're all contributing to this huge tapestry of human experience,
I like that.
which is kind of a beautiful thought, but it's
Yeah.
also like a little bit scary, right?
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
It's definitely something to think about.
Yeah,
6 degrees of separation, it's not just like some random fun fact you hear at a party.
right.
It's a powerful concept that makes you really rethink your place in the world, right? To consider the impact of all your actions and to recognize that shared humanity that we all have.
So to our listeners, think about those times where you've been like, wow, what a small world.
Yeah.
Those surprising connections that made you realize just how interconnected we really all are.
Yeah.
And as you navigate your own little corner of this vast web of humanity, consider this. If we're all just a few degrees away from each other, how does that change how you view yourself? How does it change how you view your community, your world?
Think about it.
Thanks for listening, everybody.
Thanks.
And we'll see you next time.
See you next time.